Hello, this is Stuart Fleming. Tonight we're going to review the buttons that we're working with and how we can hide them. And there's actually two ways of hiding them. One is through Java and the other through its expression language. Tonight we're going to do the Java. And as you recall, if we go to the table, we don't really want the table button to be enabled because we're there. So you can't press the table button if you're already there. And then also if you go to the form button should become disabled. So that's what we're going to do. Now, the Flash app basically is a code repository, and here you can see that I actually have some code from the previous application, and we're just going to copy and paste certain parts of it into our form. I'll put it up here. I guess that one's okay. These buttons are going to be, and we're going to have to rename the buttons on the form to match what we want here. And this is just code, excuse me. I have a different version there, and we'll do that later. This one is going to be the button, the code that hides and sets the button. Now basically, um, if the button, what we want to do is saying is if this is the table button is active, then we want to hide it. If the form button is active, then we want to hide it. And then when you set another button, you want to be able to enable the table button. So that's what this actual code does. So you can see that what we do is we pass a button into the application and we set it to disabled. And then, because that's the button you just pressed, and then you're going to say, hey, if this is not the nav edit and this is not the go edit, or if it's, let's see, set it to disabled. So if it is disabled, set disabled false. Okay, and you're doing that for each button that you have here. So let's go to our JSP. Now we have the button name here, and you can see that when you double click this, it'll actually go to here, and that's the Flash table flow. And if you go to the button, it'll actually go to that one also. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this using the refactor so we don't have to go and manually redo all that. And we'll say nav go table. Okay, and you can see that now that's changed. This one is going to be refactor nav go form, and where's refactor? There it is. Nav go flash card, and this one is going to be okay. So we've renamed these that will correspond to the buttons. Okay, now what we want to do is we want to go over to our table, and we want to be in the right one here. And we're going to go out to our Flash form here, and we have here this particular string, okay, and we'll copy that in, but we don't have that. What we need is the nav go table form. Okay, so what we do is we set the set control disabled, and we enter in the nav go table, which is one of the rich command buttons, and we do that for each of these buttons here. Okay, so this means that when we press the button, this will run, and then the task flow will change to that, and that button will then become disabled. Some of the other things that we need to do at this point are to change the buttons So because we did copy and paste this in from another application, so we need to change the buttons that are on the form to these names. So let's go about doing that next. Okay, here we have the table button, and this button is called CB1. Well, we've changed it to navcode table. So we'll copy that, put it in here, and put that over here. Okay. And this one is navcode form. Navcode flashcard. And finally, navcode control panel. Okay. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is actually generate accessors for these. And you can do that through here. And we'll do that for all of the different forms here, except for the task flow ID. Okay, and what that does is it just does the setters and getters for the buttons. Okay, now finally we have one other task to do. Even though when you double click on here it takes you to the form, it really needs to be associated with the button. So this is what we're going to do, is we're going to go down to here on the, click on the table, and then go down to advanced and do the edit, and you'll be able to see the backing game, and we choose which one that is. And this is based on the accessors that we just created. So just do this for all 4 buttons. This is go form. Whoops, not help, but okay. Just get that out of the way. Looks like that one worked. I'll do that anyways. Flashcard. And finally, control panel. Save it. Now we have another thing to do. Since we changed the name of this thing, okay, we changed all these, we need to go over here, and you can see now that we click on this, there's this red X in the corner. And you see now that it maintains the previous values for what we had in there. So let's go in here and get rid of them all, and then come over to our facet, which is where they all are, and just move them over and save. Okay, let's see how this came out. So we open up the form. Now another thing that I did do was I made the table disabled from the very start. And the reason for that is that when you go to the form, you don't need to press it. So I came over here and I set disable to true. Okay, it's the default screen, so really it shouldn't be seen. And you see that now, well, it does light up, but I can't really press it. Now I go to form. The form is now disabled, table is enabled, flashcard. Of course, there's no data on the form control, but also the functionality is there. So now we have this very nice situation where it is constantly changing according to our needs. So that's how you do it in Java. Now let's quickly summarize. I used the flashcard application to get the code, and actually I have it in a notepad here, and I copied these into the application. We changed the name of these buttons to these values. We copied this method into the application, which basically sets it to disabled, the one that you pass in, and then if the other ones are currently disabled, then they set them to visible or disabled, set disabled false. And that's how that application goes. So then we had to generate accessors for these, and then we had to bind these these controls using the down here we use the binding, and then we also needed to make sure that this was set properly so that these fields would be set, it would respond to these buttons being pressed. So that is how you would utilize code that you have in another application and copy it over. It's fairly extensive, the changes that you need to do, and you'll get some nasty null pointer exceptions if you don't set the bindings, for example, on these buttons to here, or if you don't have the setters and getters for these buttons, you won't be able to set the binding. So there's a lot to it. I hope that was helpful, though. Have a good evening.